All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping headfirst into one of the biggest mysteries of our time. Just who is Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin? I mean, think about it. This person, or maybe group, build the technology that's now worth trillions. And then, poof, after just 2 years of activity, they completely vanish in 2011. It's like they left a ghost in the machine. So what if it wasn't just a clean disappearance? What if they actually wanted us to play a game? Our source for this whole explainer, which is a really deep academic paper, suggests exactly that Satoshi intentionally wove a kind of secret language right into Bitcoin's DNA. So let's see what they dug up. Okay, section 1, the Bitcoin ghost. Before we get into the wild stuff, let's just lay out the facts. Who or what was this phantom we call Satoshi Nakamoto? So for a couple of years, Satoshi was right there in the trenches, guiding the project, talking with other developers, shaping the whole thing through emails and forum posts. And then nothing. April 2011, the line goes dead. Just total silence. That's the real puzzle here, right? Who builds something that changes the world and then just walks away? All right, section 2, a trail of breadcrumbs. This is where it gets fun. The main idea from our source paper is that Satoshi was basically playing a game with all of us, leaving these little clues, these brain games for us to find. The goal maybe wasn't to spell out their real name, but to give us a sketch, a portrait of the genius behind it all. So the paper breaks down the evidence into 4 main categories. You've got the alias itself, Satoshi Nakamoto, key dates like his birthday, the core numbers baked into Bitcoin's design, and even some hidden pop culture references. It's like the entire blockchain is a giant puzzle box, and every little choice could be a clue. Okay, on to section 3, the magic numbers. Now, of all the breadcrumbs Satoshi might have left, these are maybe the most fascinating. We're talking about 2 numbers that keep popping up, 21 and 42. And the argument is, these are not random. They feel way too deliberate, way too symbolic. And of course, that brings us to the most famous number in all of crypto, 21 million, the total final supply of Bitcoin. But have you ever stopped to ask why that number? Why not around 20 million, or 50, or 100? Well, it turns out it's probably not random at all. So here's how Satoshi did it. He set up this really elegant system where the reward for mining a block gets cut in half every 210,000 blocks. That's roughly every 4 years. It's called the halving. And because of this, the math works out so that the total number of Bitcoins will get closer and closer to 21 million, but never actually pass it. The big takeaway here, this was totally by design. Satoshi engineered this number. He set the rules of the game. So what was the logic behind it? Well, one really compelling theory is that Satoshi was trying to mirror the world's money supply back in 2008. The global M1 supply was around $21 trillion. So if you think of Bitcoin having 21 million coins and each coin having 100 million tiny units called Satoshis, well, the total number of sats would be in the same ballpark as the total number of cents in the world. It was a clever way to make Bitcoin feel comparable to real-world currencies right out of the gate. But trust me, the rabbit hole goes way deeper than that. And this is where we get into the symbolism. The number 21 is just loaded with meaning, especially for someone interested in games, strategy, and finance. You've got blackjack, right? The perfect hand. There's the movie 21, about MIT kids beating the casinos, which just so happened to come out in 2008, the same year as the Bitcoin white paper. Coincidence? Maybe. But the hits keep coming. It's all part of this mindset, this persona of someone creating a new game to beat the old system. But it's not just 21. Check this out. In an old email, Satoshi actually said his first idea for the total supply was 42 million. He just thought it seemed high. Now, 42 is just 21 times 2. Or, for any coders listening, it's a binary left shift, a super common operation. So we know for a fact the number 42 was bouncing around in his head. And the number 42? Oh man, it's a classic in geek culture. Of course you have The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where it's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. That's almost a wink and a nod to the tech world. But then you have other stuff, like Jackie Robinson's number 42, a legendary figure who broke barriers and challenged the entire system. When you put it all together, you see this personality emerging, someone who loves math and sci-fi, but also seems to have a real interest in challenging the status quo. Okay, section 4, psychogram of a genius. So let's take all these little clues, the perfect British English, the weird posting times, the number games, and see what kind of picture they paint. What does it all tell us about the mind behind Satoshi Nakamoto? Let's try to build a profile. When you lay it all out, a really consistent picture starts to form. You see the flawless British English, which suggests a Commonwealth background. The posting times are all over the place, hinting that this person was maybe moving between the US and Europe, or at least trying to make it look that way. They used privacy tools, obviously, and that message in the very first block of Bitcoin, total anti-bank sentiment. So this isn't just some random coder. We're talking about a brilliant privacy-paranoid, anti-establishment genius who was very, very careful. And the source paper points out that this profile fits a classic archetype, the reclusive genius. These are people who are often a little atypical, they have a weird sense of humor, they'd rather have privacy than fame, and they love strategic games like chess or poker. It aligns perfectly with all the evidence. It's almost like the creator of Bitcoin wasn't just building a new financial system, they were performing a role. All right, final section, following the evidence. Let's put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Now, there's no smoking gun here, no one thing that says it was this person. But what we do have is a surprisingly detailed profile of the kind of person who could be Satoshi. So here is the final profile from all this digital detective work. We're looking for an absolute expert in cryptography and coding. Ideologically, they're libertarian, anti-establishment. Personality-wise, they're a recluse, but witty, someone who loves games and puzzles. And their background? Probably moving between the US and Europe with that British English fluency. Even their writing style was unique, brilliant, but with some odd citations in the original white paper. So the big question is, does anyone actually fit this description? Now, it's super important to note that the paper we're drawing from doesn't point fingers and say, it's this guy. It's really careful to respect Satoshi's privacy. Think of it more as a thought experiment. It's about using this profile as a filter to look at some of the names that have been thrown around over the years and see who lines up. And this is a great example of how you can use that filter. The profile shows some pretty strong overlaps with people like Len Sassaman, a brilliant cypherpunk who sadly passed away in 2011, right around the time Satoshi vanished. There are some really eerie coincidences there. And then there's someone like Daniel J. Bernstein, a top cryptographer who literally sued the US government over free speech in crypto. That fits the anti-establishment ideology to a T. So in the end, maybe the goal isn't really to find out a name. Maybe it's about appreciating the incredible artistry of the whole thing. When you see how all these clues, the name, the numbers, the symbolism, all fit together so neatly, it's hard to believe it was just an accident. It feels like a performance. And that leaves us with one final thought. Was this all just a game played by a lone genius? Or is the mystery itself the point? Maybe Satoshi's anonymity isn't a flaw or an unsolved mystery. Maybe it's the final, most crucial feature of Bitcoin, a truly decentralized system with no leader, no central point of failure, not even a creator we can point to. Well, thanks for going down this rabbit hole with us on The Explainer.